Namaste. A very warm and a pleasant welcome to one and all present here. Today, we will be dealing with module number 8, which is musical references in Vedas. We all know that Vedic literature is vast and huge. The foremost literature ever known by human life is Vedic literature. Vedic literature contains 4 Vedas predominantly: Rig, Yajuh, Sama and Atharva. So as we all know, these are the 4 Vedas which makes the base for our philosophical background and for a spiritual awakening in our Sanatana Dharma. So there are 4 Vedas which are Rig Veda, Yajur Veda, Sama Veda and Atharva Veda. Let us first know what these are and how musical narratives, musical references are intertwined, interlinked in these Vedas. So the very first Veda is Rig Veda. So every Veda has 4 parts: the Samhita, the Brahmana, the Aranyaka and the Upanishad. The Samhita part is nothing but it consists of hymns and mantras. The Brahmana part consists of some rituals and ceremonies. Aranyakas deals with meditation and secluded arrangement for doing meditations in forests and other areas. The Upanishads part teaches the philosophical framework of this Sanatana Dharma. This is how the 4 parts of each Veda consist of, and in these the most important thing is the Samhita part, which deals with hymns and mantras. What does Samhita talk about? What each and every Veda talk about? So the Rig Veda is the most oldest Veda, which has 10 mandalas to it and it has 1028 hymns in it. Now it is about cosmic origins, spiritual and societal insights, etc. And more of mantras are there in Rig Veda. Yajur Veda is also a book of rituals. Yajur Veda is further divided into Shukla Yajur Veda and Krishna Yajur Veda. So it is a mix of prose and hymns and poetry. So it's about Yajur Veda. Now Sama Veda deals with Sama, the Gana, the music part. So it is the book of melodies, if we have to understand in simple words. Musical chantings of Rigvedic hymns is done in Sama Veda, which is the 3rd Veda. Now Sama Veda is known as Veda of chants. More of musical narratives are found in this Sama Veda altogether. The purpose of chanting this is to enhance spiritual vibrations through music and rituals. Now foundation of Indian classical music is directly found in Sama Veda to our knowledge. Now Atharva Veda is book of knowledge which talks about daily life, health, spiritual practices. It also covers the practical wisdom and worldly and spiritual balance, as we see. So to compare these 4 Vedas, Rig Veda is about hymns and chants, Yajur Veda is about ritual formalities, Sama Veda is about melodic chants and Atharva Veda is more of practical knowledge. Now we will be dealing more with Sama Veda because that is the chants and melodies and the classical music, the origin of it is found in Sama Veda altogether. So let us know in deep about how Sama Veda is directly related to music and musical references in Sama Veda. Study of Vedic period reveals that music had a notable place in the history. Every family, especially that of the Brahmins, were supposed to learn Vedic hymns without any failure. So the Brahmanas were exclusively meant for the welfare of the society. Their work was to do Adhyayana and Adhyapana, learn and teach. So they were the ones who used to learn these Vedic hymns and teach the other people. Their singing, dancing and playing on instruments was made in a very strict discipline. They had a very systematic life, they had a systematic way of doing things, and it was a timely systematic procedure of doing all forms of arts and learning in a day. However, the Samagana had brought in changes in the system of music for its augmentation and perfection for the future generation. The association of literature with music was firmly established during this age. No activity, no festival, no ceremony was conducted without the sacred art of music. Women were given much prominence to learn all forms of music, the vocal, the instrumental and the dancing, considering them as the representation of the goddess, the Devi herself. Samaveda, among the four Vedas as I have mentioned earlier, Samaveda is considered as the origin of Indian music. Samaveda is perhaps the earliest human literature on music. It naturally incorporates music, mantra, chanda, linguistics, and above all, a reflection of the world view of rishis who communicated in the Arsha language, precursor to the more regimented Girvana, later called Sanskrit. The music used for yajnas, the Vedic rituals as we know, was bound by very strict rules, whereas that used for social occasions, the Laukika karma as we call, was according to the interest of the people. At the time of sacrifices and upasana ahuti had been offered, and with that ahuti, rhythmic samagana was also performed. So in the yajnas in the previous ages, there used to be regular yajnas wherein they follow very strict rules, and when they try to do ahuti, it's the sacrifice that is being done for the welfare of the people, for the welfare of the society. So the purpose of yajnas here was cosmic harmony, connection with the divine, fulfillment of desires and spiritual bliss. So these were the reasons for which ahutis were done in great yajnas. Samagana is nothing but that which is derived from Samaveda. This Samaveda is sung in a metrical form in specific tone with huge intonations at different levels to make the performance, the sacrifice more blissful and with more pious in nature. So these were some of the things which were included in these yajnas and yagas in order to give sacrifice for the welfare of the people or for a specific desire fulfillment, as we all know. Here is the Samavedic swaras and Laukik swaras for a clear understanding. So we have compared here the Vedic swaras and the Laukik swaras with its in terms of definition, types, purposes, tone system, nature, etc. Let's know how they are. Samavedic swaras, intonations used in Vedic chanting, especially Samaveda. But here in Laukik swara, musical notes are used for Indian classical music. Types of swaras, it becomes Udatta, Anudatta and Swarita. But here in Laukika, it is Sa, Ri, Ga, Ma, Pa, Dha, Ni. The purpose of swaras, to ensure the precise intonation for ritualistic accuracy. But in Laukika swaras, it becomes aesthetic expression in music. People start admiring or getting inspired or love this music, whereas in Samavedic rituals, music and swaras are used for ritualistic purposes and accuracy. The tone system, how is the tone system in Samavedic swara? It's limited to only three main swaras, that is Udatta, Anudatta and Swarita. But here there is a 7-note system which is also called as Sapta swaras in nature. The nature of Samavedic swara is for functional and ritualistic purposes with fixed intonations and a systematic procedure to chant. Whereas in Laukika swaras, it's about artistic, melodic and dynamic nature of the music that is being sung. Again, the role of Samavedic swaras, integral to Vedic chanting only, and it is used only for yagas and yajnas for the sacrificial purposes. But whereas the Laukika swaras are used for raga, tala of Indian classical music. The evolution, focus on tonal precision and spiritual significance is very, very important for Samavedic hymns. whereas in Laukika Swaras, it is evolved into ragas, gamakas for melodic richness. Connection to Samaveda. Samaveda Swaras form the base for musical structures for the entire music world. But Samagana influenced the creation of classical music notes here. Symbolism. It represents the cosmic order and spiritual resonance. Here it conveys emotions and artistic expression in nature. The usage of Samavedic Swaras is found in ritual chantings alone, of chanting hymns and mantras. But here it is found in performing arts and classical compositions. In this manner, we can find a huge difference between Samavedic Swaras and Laukik Swaras in terms of usage, symbolism, connection, evolution, role, nature, etc. So, with this, we have come to know the basic differences between Samavedic Swaras and the Laukik music. Musical instruments in the Vedic period. As we all know, there are different types of musical instruments in the Vedic period. Different musical instruments were used for different purposes at different occasions too. Let us know how they are, what they are made of, how they were termed in Vedic period. 4 types of instruments which have been mentioned during Vedic period are: the very first one is wind instrument, the second one is metallic instruments, the third one is stringed instruments, and the fourth and the last one is leather instruments. These were 4 different types of musical instruments which are predominantly found in Vedic period. These 4 types of instruments were called in Sanskrit as Tatavadyam, Sushiravadyam, Anavadhavadyam, Ghanavadyam. So, as you all can see, it is in this manner. Among string instruments of Vedic period, Veena held a very prominent, predominant place altogether. So, there were different types of Veenas too in those days in Vedic period. The very first one is Bana Veena, Karkari Veena, Kanda Veena, Apaghatalika, Godha Veena. In the same manner, Bana Veena was also called as Mahaveena. It consists of 100 strings during Mahavrata Yajna. This Veena was played using a wooden stick. Among the wind instruments, the name Tunava has been used very often in the place of flute. Nadi was another synonym for flute. Among leather instruments, Dundhubi and Bhumi Dundhubi were specifically very important. Dundhubi was a type of drum which was made by stretching leather over wood and was played using a stick. Bhumi Dundhubi was made by digging a pit in the ground and covering it with a leather. Panava, Pinga, Godha, Pataha and Gargara, etc. were instruments of this category. That is, these were also the leather instruments. Some of the musical instruments mentioned in Yajurveda are Adumbar, Veena, Tunava, Shankha, Panighna and Talab. Veena was a common name given to stringed instruments in this period. Depending on the number of stringed, it was further divided as Shatatantra, Kanda, Pichola, Karkatika, etc. Panighna refers to handheld percussion and Talab was an instrument similar to Majira. A musical instrument called Pinga is said to have been in Rigveda. Pinga was bow-shaped instrument. The string of this instrument was made up by animal intestines which have been the color of grey tinted half blue. According to the color of string, the instrument is thus called Pinga, which stands for color. The other instruments called Gargara, which is equally bow-shaped, is named according to the sound it makes when in use. Gargara, the musical instruments of Vedic age, is making tremendous sound. The production of sound comes through its strings. Now, as we know, there are different types of leather instruments. Dundhubi, Bhumi Dundhubi, as we all have seen or listened till now. Dundhubi is specifically used in yagas and yajnas to invoke the deities specially. Bhumi Dundhubi was especially used during the sacrifices in yajnas to especially produce deep resonant sounds. And Bhumi Dundubi, the word itself means that it connects to the earthly nature. So the earth gets connected to the yajna, and in this way it is spiritually awakened. So in this manner, these instruments, may it be leather instrument, a wind instrument or string instrument for that matter, amplifies the musical resonance and thus creates a spiritual significance during the yagas in the sacrifices. So friends, till now we have seen 4 Vedas, its introduction, and how these 4 Vedas contains musical narratives, musical references in them. We have also seen each and every Veda containing different types of musical instruments, their names, how they were called in their respective texts, and what are the uses of these instruments in nature. We have also seen the type of musical instruments played in different occasions for different purposes. I hope you have enjoyed this video altogether, and thank you one and all for listening till now.